Hi, I'm Lee Strobel, and I'm here to talk about how to invite someone to come attend the movie with you, The Case for Christ. I hope you're going to plan to attend, but I hope you're not going to come alone. I hope you'll seize the spiritual opportunity of the Easter season, when people are more spiritually attuned, when they're more open to talking about spiritual matters, and extend an invitation for someone who might benefit from hearing the story about an atheist, a skeptic, who investigated the evidence for the resurrection of Jesus and became convinced that it's actually true. You know, a recent survey showed that 34% of our friends will come to church with us if we invite them. Well, it's much easier to invite someone to a movie than it is to church. Church is kind of intimidating for a lot of people. But movies, yeah, you know what? If you buy the popcorn, they'll probably come. So who should we invite? Well, I want to preface this by saying we ought to be praying. Who might God put on our hearts to extend an invitation to? The first category might be Christians. It's fine to invite believers, of course. They're going to emerge inspired, motivated, and probably understanding better not just what they believe, but why they believe it. I'd especially love to see people invite nominal Christians, people who may go to church, but we're not quite sure where they're at spiritually. I think they'll find this movie compelling. I think they'll see that the evidence may drive their own faith deeper in their own life. And of course, bring non-believers, bring skeptics, bring spiritual seekers, even bring people who are atheists like I was. It's easy to say to a skeptic, you know, I think you'd relate to the main character of this movie. He was a guy educated at Yale Law School, legal editor of the Chicago Tribune. He was an adamant atheist like you are. But you know what? He investigated the evidence and came to a different conclusion. Would you be interested in seeing that story? And then see what happens. Invite people from other religions who might be curious about what it is that Christians believe. And I think also invite people who are in a relationship, either a dating relationship or a marriage with someone who's not a Christian. They're unequally yoked, so to speak, as the Bible talks about. The movie deals with that particular topic in a very profound way, and I think they'll very much appreciate what they'll learn from the story that's told. So how can we invite people? Well, the first thing is to understand this is just a great movie. And I can say that because I didn't make the movie. It was made about my story, true story, and based on my book, The Case for Christ. But other people wrote the movie and produced it and starred in it, and I can sit back and watch it and say, this is just a great story. It's not just a spiritual investigation from skepticism to faith. It's a story about a marriage. It's a love story about two people who met when they were 14 years old, got married as non-believers. One becomes a Christian, and then you've got a Christian married to an atheist, and the friction that developed in the marriage and how that worked out. It's very, it's just a great story. There's also the story about big city Chicago journalism. That's another plot that's in the movie. There's a story about a relationship between a father and a son, a troubled relationship like a lot of people have. So I think there's a lot of angles of this movie that we can find a connection with a friend and say, you know, I think you'd like it because you know, you like big city crime stories. Well, it's got that. Or you just got married. Well, it's a marriage story. It's a love story. Or I know you've had some issues with your dad. This movie deals with those kind of topics. So it's just a great movie. It's entertaining. It's got humor. I mean, I watched it. I laughed and I cried. And I think that's going to be the response of the audience in general. I would suggest you buy a ticket for your friend so that you can offer it to them. Buy the popcorn too, but at least buy them the ticket so that you've got it. And offer to pick them up to bring them to the film. If you rely on them meeting you at the movie theater, sometimes they don't show up. But you know, if you pick them up, then they're going to be there 100% of the time. Build into your invitation the idea of getting together afterward to discuss what you see. In other words, let's see a movie and then let's go have coffee. Or let's see a movie and let's go have dinner. Build in from the beginning an opportunity for a conversation about what they see. Also, don't rule out an invitation to an unlikely candidate. I think when people looked at me when I was an atheist at the Chicago Tribune, I was an unlikely candidate to bring to anything spiritual. But my wife took a risk, and she invited me to come to church, which, by the way, was meeting in a movie theater. And I went, and my life was changed. And so sometimes I think we decide for people for them that they'll never come. They wouldn't come to a movie like this. And we don't extend the invitation. Why not extend the invitation and see what happens? Now, when you see the movie, I think what's going to happen is as you're walking out, God is going to bring half a dozen different people who you wish you had invited, but you didn't. Well, go ahead and invite them. And you can sit through the movie a second time, but bring them along. I think you're going to see things in the film and you're going to walk out and say, oh man, my brother needs to see this. Oh man, my neighbor needs to see this. Oh man, my colleague at work needs to see this, or a friend at the university, whatever it is. Those names are going to come into your mind. Be willing to come back and to attend the movie with them and then have a conversation about them. You know, you never know how God is going to use an experience like this in someone's life. So it is worth the risk to offer an invitation. What's the worst thing that can happen? You invite them to come and they say, no thanks, not really interested. You know what? That's not the end of the world. And you know what? It may also open up an opportunity for a spiritual conversation. To say, oh, okay, I understand you're busy and you don't want to come, but do you ever think about spiritual stuff? And it might actually open up a conversation, even if they decline an invitation, to talk about spiritual matters. Easter is coming. It is the time when spiritual interest and curiosity, then in Christmas, it's at the highest times of the year. Let's not squander this opportunity. Let's seize this opportunity to expose them to a motion picture that they'll A, find entertaining, but B, God might use in their life to change their eternity forever.